The fire begins not with flames but with silence. The moment betrayal strikes, something ancient awakens inside you. A force you did not invite, a wound that bleeds without sound. You are cut, but you do not scream. You are broken, but you do not fall. Those who betray believe they've won when they see you wounded. They expect the explosion, the storm, the collapse. But what they fail to see is that silence is not surrender. Silence is preparation. Silence is the fire no one can extinguish. You feel it in your chest, heavy, suffocating, burning. Betrayal is not a simple act. It is a knife twisted where trust once lived. It rips something pure from your hands and replaces it with ashes, and for a moment you think you will drown in this loss. But then you realize pain is not your enemy. Pain is your teacher. Pain is the forge that shapes you into someone stronger than you have ever been. There is something ruthless about betrayal. It exposes the illusions you once carried, the masks people wore, the lies they dressed as loyalty, the promises they painted as truth, all stripped away in an instant. Betrayal is the great revealer. It tears the veil from your eyes and forces you to see reality for what it is. And though it hurts like nothing else, this truth is a gift. For once the illusions are gone, you stand naked before life itself. And from this raw place, you are free to rebuild with clarity. The silence after betrayal is not empty, it is full of power, full of reflection, full of untapped strength. You learn quickly that those who harmed you do not deserve your words. They do not deserve your rage, your explanations, your desperate attempt to be understood. To react is to feed them. To beg is to crown them. But to go silent, to retreat into your own stillness, to hold your pain like a hidden flame that terrifies them more than any retaliation ever could. Understand this. People who betray want to witness your destruction. They want to see the chaos their actions created. They want proof that they mattered enough to shatter you. But when you do not break, when you stand motionless in your quiet power, their victory turns to ash in their mouths. You become unreadable, unreachable, untouchable. They cannot control silence, and that lack of control eats them alive. Your silence is not weakness, it is transformation in motion. While they drown in the guilt they refuse to admit, you are gathering your power. Every second of silence is a moment you are reforging yourself in fire. Your spirit, once cracked, begins to harden. Your mind, once clouded, begins to sharpen. Your heart, once wounded, begins to strengthen in ways it never could have without this pain. Betrayal has not killed you. It has purified you. The fire of betrayal is a strange companion. At first, it sears you. It consumes every thought, every breath, every heartbeat. But as time moves, you learn how to master it. You learn how to carry it without being burned. You learn to turn that fire inward, using it as fuel for your evolution. What once threatened to destroy you now builds you. What once made you weak now becomes your strength. And while you rise in silence, those who hurt you begin to feel the weight of your absence. They will not admit it, they will not speak it aloud, but they will feel it. At night, when their arrogance fades and the world is quiet, they will think of you. They will wonder why you never came back. They will question if you ever truly cared. They will replay their betrayal again and again, trying to convince themselves they were right. But their thoughts will not bring them peace. Because your silence has become a mirror, and in that mirror, they see the truth of who they are. You are no longer the person they thought they could control. You are no longer the victim they believed they could break. You have taken the fire they gave you, and you have mastered it. And this mastery will haunt them. For the cruelest punishment of betrayal is not what happens to you, it is what you become after. You become something they can no longer touch. This is why silence is the deadliest response, not because it hides your pain, but because it transforms it. Your silence becomes the weight they cannot lift, the echo they cannot escape, the ghost that walks beside them long after you've left. They will look for you in every place, in every face, but you will not return. You are gone. And in your absence they will understand the true cost of what they did. So do not waste your fire in screams. Do not hand over your power in desperate words. Do not let your enemies taste your destruction. Hold your silence like a blade, and let it cut deeper than anger ever could, because in the end, it is not their betrayal that defines you. It is your rebirth through it. And when the silence has finished its work, when you stand tall and unshaken, they will know the truth. The fire they lit to destroy you has instead crowned you with a strength they will never possess. Absence is not nothingness. Absence is a presence so heavy it crushes the guilty more than confrontation ever could. When you vanish, when your voice no longer fills their world, when your eyes no longer meet theirs, an emptiness begins to grow around them. But this emptiness is not silence, it is judgment. It is a shadow that stalks them in quiet hours. They expected your cries, your anger, your desperate reach to be heard. Instead, you left nothing, and that nothing begins to devour them from within. At first they may laugh, they may convince themselves they are free of you. They may even celebrate your absence, boasting that they moved on while you are the one who suffers. But absence is a seed planted deep in their mind. At first it feels like freedom. Then slowly it becomes weight. They look for your reaction, your presence, your energy, and they find a void. And in that void they begin to hear echoes. Echoes of what they did, echoes of their cruelty, echoes of your silence. Absence is not escape. Absence is strategy. It is a battlefield where you win without lifting a weapon. The one who hurt you longs for evidence that they mattered, that their betrayal cut deep enough to leave you forever, begging for their return. But when you vanish without pleading, when you do not chase, when you do not crawl back, you take that power away. You turn their wound into their own reflection. They are left to face the truth of their actions without the distraction of your voice. And here lies the torment. People are haunted not by the presence of their enemies, but by the silence of those they wronged. When you are absent, you become myth. You become memory. You become a shadow that walks behind them in their quietest hours. They cannot fight you because you are not there. They cannot defend themselves because there is no one to argue with. They cannot seek validation because you have denied them your presence. And so their mind becomes their own tormentor. Think of absence as a mirror. While presence gives them fuel, absence forces them to see themselves without distraction. They are trapped in the prison of their choices. They thought betrayal would free them, but now they are bound to the consequences of their cruelty. The absence of your voice becomes the loudest sound in their life. It is in the silence of night, when the world grows still, that the weight of your absence crushes their chest. They wonder where you are, who you've become, if you even think of them. And that wondering eats at them more than your anger ever could. Absence is not weakness. Absence is a form of dominance. To disappear is to remind them they no longer control you. To step away is to show them that their betrayal did not destroy you. It liberated you. The more you remain absent, the heavier the air grows around them. What was once laughter turns into unease. What was once arrogance becomes doubt. They may try to distract themselves, but your absence is a ghost they cannot escape. And here is the greatest truth: absence creates longing. People do not truly crave what they can touch every day. They crave what has vanished, what has slipped beyond their reach. Betrayal blinds them into thinking they can replace you, but absence teaches them otherwise. They begin to see what they lost only when it is no longer theirs to hold. Your silence becomes the stage where their regrets perform endlessly. They replay the betrayal. They rewrite the story. They search for ways to undo what cannot be undone. This is why absence is heavier than presence. Words fade, arguments lose their sharpness, anger burns out. But absence lingers. Absence does not give answers. Absence denies closure. It leaves the betrayer hanging between guilt and desire, unable to release what they once had, unable to regain it either. And this torment will last far longer than any explosion of rage you could have given them. Absence is not about revenge. It is about transformation. It is about showing that you are no longer chained to the cycle of pain they tried to trap you in. You do not need to explain. You do not need to fight. You do not need to convince them of your worth. Your absence proves it. Your disappearance declares it. You are beyond their reach, and they will feel that distance growing like a storm over their head. One day, they will realize that what hurts most is not the words you never said, but the fact that you no longer care enough to speak them. They will realize that the punishment was not your anger, but your absence. They will carry the weight of your silence like a stone tied around their neck, dragging them deeper into regret with every passing day. And when they come crawling back, begging for forgiveness, you will see clearly what they never could. Your absence was your greatest power, and it has already made you untouchable. Pain is a doorway. It is brutal, merciless, and uninvited, yet it opens a passage that comfort never could. When betrayal tears through your soul, you are left bleeding, raw, and stripped of illusions. But in that stripped state, a strange truth reveals itself. The wound is not the end. The wound is the beginning. What feels like destruction is in fact the chiseling away of the weaker self, the burning down of the old skin that can no longer serve the life you are destined to build. Pain is not the enemy. It is the architect of transformation. The wound changes how you see the world. Before you trusted blindly. Before you believed words without weighing actions. Before you thought love or loyalty meant permanence. But betrayal slices away that innocence. At first, this feels like death. It feels as though something inside you has been murdered, and in a way it has. But what has died is not your strength, it is your naivety. What has died is not your spirit, it is the part of you that allowed yourself to be broken so easily. From the ashes of that death rises something sharper, wiser, and far more powerful. Transformation begins not when you escape the pain, but when you embrace it. The wound hurts because it matters. It carves into you because it is rewriting you. Every scar is a story. Every scar is a lesson written into your skin, a permanent mark reminding you that you survived what should have destroyed you. Betrayal is the hand that wrote pain into your soul, but you are the one who decides how that story ends. You can let the wound fester, poisoning you with bitterness and rage, or you can let it forge you into steel. Think of fire. Fire can consume or fire can purify. If you stand still, the flames destroy you, but if you step into them with purpose, you emerge cleansed, refined, unrecognizable. The wound is fire. It burns, but in that burning it removes the weakness, the illusions, the unnecessary weight you carried. It teaches you that you do not need the approval of those who harmed you. It teaches you that survival does not come from being loved, but from loving yourself enough to rise even after the world cuts you down. There is a dangerous beauty in the wound. Those who betrayed you believe they ended your story, but instead they wrote the first chapter of a new one. A story where you are no longer fragile. A story where you are no longer blinded by sweet lies. A story where your strength is no longer a theory, but a weapon carved out of fire and blood. The wound is the proof that you lived through hell and walked out breathing, and that is a power no betrayer can ever take back. Transformation through the wound also changes your silence. At first, silence is survival. It is the refusal to give them satisfaction. But as the wound heals, silence becomes something greater. It becomes mastery. You no longer stay silent because you are hurt. You stay silent because you no longer need to explain. You are no longer begging to be heard. You are no longer trying to prove your worth. You are no longer fighting battles with people who do not deserve your fire. That shift, that liberation, is the mark of transformation. Your betrayers will one day look at you and not recognize what you've become. They will remember the version of you that bled at their feet. They will remember the softness they mistook for weakness. They will remember the trust they shattered and the heart they mocked. But when they see you again, they will not see the same person. They will see someone who has risen beyond their reach, and in that moment, their cruelty will turn back on them. For nothing cuts deeper than realizing their wound did not kill you, it crowned you. Understand this truth: wounds are not permanent prisons, they are secret doorways into power. Most people run from pain, hide from it, bury it under distractions and noise. But those who dare to sit with their wound, to stare into it, to feel it fully, those are the ones who rise transformed. Those are the ones who discover strength so unshakable, it terrifies the ones who try to break them. Do not curse the wound. Do not waste it. The wound is proof that you have been chosen for transformation. It is the weight that presses you down, only so you can rise higher. It is the fire that burns away weakness, leaving behind only the essence of who you are meant to be. Yes, it hurts. Yes, it scars. But every scar is a crown. Every scar is a weapon. Every scar is a declaration that you cannot be destroyed. The greatest revenge is not their apology. It is not their suffering. It is not even their regret. The greatest revenge is your transformation, to become someone so unshakable, so radiant in strength, so far beyond who you once were, that they cannot touch you even in their wildest attempts. The wound gave you that gift. The betrayal wrote the script, but you became the author of its ending, and so you rise, not in spite of the wound, but because of it. You rise carrying the pain that once sought to bury you, now burning in your chest as fuel. You rise with eyes sharper, with steps steadier, with a spirit so alive that no enemy can break it again. They thought they ended you, but you are not ended, you are reborn. And this rebirth is the wound's final gift, your unshakable transformation into power they will never understand and never escape. Detachment is the blade that severs chains. The moment you no longer need their apology, the moment you no longer hunger for their return, the moment you stop searching their shadow for answers, you become untouchable. This is the power that terrifies those who betrayed you. They can handle your anger, they can even handle your pain, but they cannot handle your indifference. For when you detach, you announce to the universe, I am no longer theirs to wound. At first, detachment feels impossible. The wound is fresh, the memories vivid, the betrayal a storm that still shakes your chest. You want closure, you want explanation, you want to hear them say they were wrong. But that hunger is the last thread tying you to them, and as long as you remain tied, they still hold power. True detachment begins when you cut even that thread, when you no longer require their words to validate your worth, when you no longer seek their guilt as proof of your value. Detachment is not coldness, it is liberation. To detach does not mean you feel nothing. It means you no longer allow their actions to govern your emotions. It means their betrayal no longer dictates your identity. They thought they owned a piece of you. They thought they left you with an open wound forever bound to their memory. But detachment proves them wrong. It proves that what they shattered, you rebuilt on your own terms. The secret is this: attachment feeds them, detachment starves them. They may not show it, but betrayers feed off the belief that you still care. Every angry word, every desperate plea, every attempt to prove your worth tells them they still control the stage of your mind. But when you fall silent, when you stop reacting, when your eyes no longer search for theirs in the crowd, you become a storm they cannot predict. Detachment is not the absence of love, it is the presence of sovereignty. This shift is devastating for them. Because betrayal thrives on reaction. It lives on the drama, the chaos, the proof that they mattered enough to wound you. But detachment denies them all of it. Your calm becomes unbearable. Your silence becomes suffocating. Your refusal to care becomes a weight they cannot lift. They will seek cracks in your armor, waiting for signs that you still burn for them, but they will find none. You will have moved beyond the battlefield they tried to trap you in. Detachment also changes you. No longer enslaved to their presence or their absence, you reclaim your energy. The fire that once burned in rage becomes the fire that fuels your rebirth. The hours wasted on their memory become hours invested in your own growth. Slowly, you realize the greatest revenge was never about making them suffer. It was about making yourself free. Freedom is the gift betrayal never wanted you to find, and detachment is the door to it. Think of detachment as armor forged in silence. When you wear it, insults cannot pierce you, abandonment cannot cage you, betrayal cannot define you. You still feel, but you choose what to feel. You still see them, but you no longer bow to the weight of their presence. They may return, crawling with apologies. They may try to stir the embers they once lit, but their words will not move you. For detachment does not erase memory, it transforms it into wisdom, and wisdom is deadlier than revenge, because wisdom does not need to strike back. It does not need to prove. It does not need to fight. Wisdom simply rises above, leaving the betrayer small in the shadow of your silence. Detachment allows you to look at them and see not the one who hurt you, but the one who taught you to rise. And there is no greater humiliation for them than realizing they became the tool of your awakening. The power of detachment also lies in its permanence. Rage fades, grief dulls, even forgiveness shifts with time. But true detachment is eternal. Once you have unchained yourself, you cannot be bound again. Once you have walked through fire and come out untouched by their hold, their power is gone forever. They may beg, they may regret, they may promise change, but your heart, will no longer be moved, because you have built a throne on higher ground, and they cannot reach you there. And when they finally understand this, it will crush them. They will see that their betrayal was not the end of you, it was the end of their power over you. They will realize that in trying to break you, they freed you, that in trying to diminish you, they crowned you, that in trying to own you, they lost you forever. This is the final blow detachment delivers, not with fire, not with fury, but with the stillness of a soul they can no longer touch. So let go of the chains, let go of the hunger for answers, let go of the illusion that their apology will heal you, detach and rise. Walk away with calm eyes and a steady heart, knowing this truth: they no longer exist where you are going. Their shadow cannot enter your light, their betrayal cannot follow you into your rebirth. And when you stand there unbound and untouchable, they will know the truth they feared all along. Your detachment is the final revenge, and it is eternal. Silence is not emptiness, it is a storm no one can escape. The guilty fear it more than screams, more than confrontation, more than vengeance, because silence does not end when the words stop. Silence lingers. Silence follows them into the night, into the quiet corners of their mind, into the spaces where no distraction can save them. It echoes louder than any voice could, and once it begins, it never lets go. When someone betrays you, they expect noise. They expect you to rage, to demand, to cry, to beg for closure. That noise reassures them. It tells them they still matter, that they still control the rhythm of your heart. But when you give them nothing, when your lips hold back the words, when your eyes refuse to explain, suddenly they are left with only themselves, and themselves is the last thing they want to face. The echo of silence is a mirror. It forces them to hear what they buried, to see what they tried to deny. They replay the betrayal in their minds, searching for your reaction. They imagine your voice, but it never comes. They wait for you to break the stillness, to ease the weight, but you do not. And in that waiting, guilt takes root. Doubt sharpens, regret grows teeth. Your silence becomes the ghost that sits beside them, whispering nothing yet saying everything. Words can be twisted, words can be denied, but silence cannot be touched. Silence is incorruptible. When you refuse to answer, when you refuse to explain, when you vanish into stillness, they have no weapon against it. They cannot argue with silence. They cannot win against silence. And that helplessness eats at them more viciously than any attack ever could. The echo of silence grows louder over time. At first they may feel powerful, believing your quiet is weakness, but as days turn to weeks and weeks to months, the silence changes form. It becomes a shadow in their laughter. It becomes a pause in their sentences. It becomes the weight behind their eyes when no one else is looking. They cannot escape it because the silence does not belong to you anymore. It belongs to them. It is stitched into their conscience, pulsing with every heartbeat. This is why silence is deadlier than revenge. Revenge ends quickly. Silence does not. Revenge burns hot and fast, leaving ashes. Silence burns slow, seeping into the cracks of the soul until it corrodes everything. They will not admit it, but the absence of your voice will haunt them more than 1,000 curses. For silence leaves space. Space for their own mind to turn against them. And the human mind, when faced with silence, is merciless. Silence also transforms you. It shifts you from the one who suffered to the one who commands. Every day you stay silent, you reclaim your power. Every day you refuse to explain, you grow harder, sharper, freer. Silence is not weakness. It is discipline. It is the refusal to hand over your fire. It is the decision to let them sit in the poison of their own making. And as you rise in your quiet, they sink in their noise. They may return. They may send words, apologies, excuses, attempts to spark reaction. But when you remain unmoved, when your silence endures, their desperation grows. They will push harder, not out of love, but out of fear. Fear that your silence means you no longer care. Fear that your silence means you have already risen beyond them. And they are right, because silence is the bridge you walk across when leaving their world behind forever. What they do not understand is that silence is not the absence of power. It is the proof of it. Anyone can scream, anyone can rage, anyone can collapse under betrayal, but only the strong can hold silence in their hands and use it as a weapon. Only the strong can resist the hunger for closure and instead choose sovereignty. Only the strong can turn silence into an echo that rings forever in the minds of those who cause their pain. So let your silence speak. Let it echo in their hollow nights. Let it burn holes in their confidence. Let it remind them every single day that the one they thought they broke has disappeared into stillness and risen into power. Do not explain. Do not justify. Do not waste words on those who once mocked your voice. Leave them the silence, and watch as that silence becomes their prison. And when they finally come crawling back, when they beg for forgiveness just to silence the echo haunting them, you will know the truth. It was never your words that held power. It was your silence. It was the storm they could not calm. It was the ghost they could not bury. And by refusing to give them your voice, you gave yourself something far greater, unshakable freedom. To rise beyond recognition is to become the storm they never saw coming. The greatest revenge is not in your words, not in your anger, not even in your silence. It is in your transformation into someone so unrecognizable that the betrayer no longer knows how to stand in your presence. They once believed they had you mapped out, every weakness charted, every response predictable. But when you rise, when you evolve past the person they once betrayed, their memory of you becomes a ghost, and the living you stands as a force they cannot comprehend. They thought they left you broken. They thought they defined your story with their cruelty. They thought you would remain as you were, small, wounded, clinging to their approval. But betrayal does not leave you as it found you. Betrayal is a violent rebirth. The person they betrayed dies, and in their place someone new emerges, someone colder, wiser, sharper, and infinitely more dangerous. This is why rising beyond recognition strikes deeper than vengeance. When you return stronger, the betrayer must face a reality they cannot deny. Their wound made you unbreakable. They stare at you and search for the fragility they once pierced, but it is gone. They look for the softness they once mocked, but it is hardened into steel. They call out to the version of you they betrayed, but that version no longer exists. And that absence is a punishment sharper than any blade. The transformation is not sudden. It is a process written in fire. You begin with the wound. You sit in the ashes of who you were. You feel the weight of pain, the suffocation of silence, the haunting of betrayal. But slowly, quietly, you begin to build. Every tear becomes a brick. Every scar becomes armor. Every sleepless night becomes discipline, until one day, without realizing it, you are no longer crawling. You are standing tall, and when they see you again, they will not know the ground beneath your feet. To rise beyond recognition is to shed your old self completely. Do not cling to who you were. Do not try to stitch the old skin back together. Let it die. Let the weak self rot, and from its grave, build something untouchable. This is the alchemy of pain. It takes death and makes it birth. It takes betrayal and makes it weapon. It takes silence and makes it crown. And when you rise, you must rise without warning. Do not announce it. Do not reveal it in fragments. Disappear into the silence and return only when you are whole, when you are forged into something they cannot name. Let your presence itself be the revelation. Let your unrecognizable strength be the sword that cuts them without words. Because nothing haunts a betrayer more than seeing the person they wounded thrive in a form they can no longer reach. The beauty of this rise is that it shifts power forever. Once they believed they owned your story. Once they believed they shaped your identity. But now you hold the pen. You decide who you are. You decide where you go. You decide who is worthy to stand in your presence. The betrayer becomes irrelevant, a footnote in a chapter that no longer defines you. They will try to remind you of who you were, but you will not recognize that version anymore. You will look at them with calm eyes, and in that gaze, they will see the truth. They do not know you. They never did. Rising beyond recognition also creates fear. They may never admit it, but in their hearts, they will tremble. Because the one thing more terrifying than an enemy who strikes back is an enemy who rises beyond the battlefield entirely. They cannot fight you anymore, because you are not playing the same game. You are not seeking revenge. You are not chasing closure. You are not waiting for their apology. You are living beyond them, and that freedom will burn them more than any weapon could. Understand this. Recognition ties you to the past. To be recognized is to be remembered as the person you once were. But to rise beyond recognition is to sever that tie completely. You are no longer bound to the betrayal. You are no longer defined by the wound. You are no longer chained to their memory. You have become someone so elevated that their actions belong to a story you have outgrown. And when they finally see you again, it will be unbearable. They will try to speak your name, but it will feel strange on their tongue. They will search for the familiar softness, but it will be gone. They will want to wound you again, but their blade will find only armor. They will realize with crushing clarity that their betrayal did not destroy you. It destroyed their access to you. The person they betrayed is dead, and the one standing before them is a stranger forged in silence, crowned in scars, and untouchable in power. That is the ultimate revenge, not their apology, not their regret, not even their suffering. The ultimate revenge is to rise so high, so unrecognizable, that they cannot touch you ever again. To become a force they never imagined, a presence they cannot control, a story they no longer belong to. That is how you win, not by fighting in the ruins, but by building a new kingdom on higher ground, where their shadow cannot follow. Every wound you endure is written into the fabric of time, and time never forgets. What has been done to you does not vanish into the void. It circles, it waits, and it finds its way back. This is the eternal law of return. Those who cast shadows upon you will one day walk beneath them. Those who wounded you will taste the bitterness of their own venom. You need not chase vengeance, for the universe itself is an unflinching mirror. The moment someone betrays you, they set a chain in motion. They may walk away with pride, with arrogance, believing they have won, believing their cruelty left no trace. But they are wrong. Every act of harm, every act of deceit writes its mark upon their spirit. They may not see it in that moment, but it follows them, like a whisper in their sleep, like a shadow that grows heavier with each passing step. What they gave to you will not remain with you forever. It will echo back, magnified, reshaped, and unrelenting. And here lies your power. You do not need to interfere with this law. Your silence, your restraint, your refusal to waste yourself in petty revenge is what makes the return inevitable. When you detach, when you rise, when you turn your face toward higher ground, you place yourself beyond the cycle of destruction. But they remain trapped. They remain bound. They will reap what they sowed, even if years must pass before the harvest comes. Think of the seasons. A seed buried in the soil does not bloom instantly. It takes time. Rain must fall, sun must burn, and patience must endure before the plant rises. The same is true with betrayal. The moment they wronged you, they planted their own downfall. And though it may not appear in days or even months, one day it will bloom. They will find themselves standing before the very pain they once mocked in you. They will look into the mirror and see their own reflection staring back, twisted by the cruelty they once unleashed. Do not mistake this for blind faith. It is not a matter of hope but of certainty. All energy returns to its source. All deeds seek their maker. No one escapes the weight of their own choices. This is not punishment, it is balance. The scales of existence tilt, and they will tilt back. What was taken from you will be restored, not always in the form you expect, but in the strength you gain, the peace you inherit, and the torment they cannot escape. And when that return comes, you will not need to gloat. You will not need to strike them down with words or actions. They will crumble under the weight of their own making. The silence you carried will thunder in their chest. The strength you found in solitude will cast them into their own loneliness. They will beg for the forgiveness they once thought you needed from them. But you will not be the same person they once hurt. You will stand untouchable, untamed, and unmoved. The eternal law of return is not about your enemies. It is about you. It is about learning that you do not have to stain your soul with revenge. You do not have to lower yourself to their level. You do not have to burn in order to prove a point. You rise, and in rising, you let the universe itself become your avenger. That is why your silence is so feared, why your calm is so threatening, why your indifference cuts deeper than rage ever could. For deep down, they know. They know what is waiting. So walk forward with unshakable certainty. Do not look back. Do not waste words. Do not offer them the satisfaction of your anger. Let them laugh. Let them believe they are free. For when the wheel turns, when the law comes full circle, it is they who will break, and it is you who will rise beyond them, untouched by their storms, crowned by your own endurance. The eternal law of return is not a myth, it is the silent fire that governs all existence. And if you can endure, if you can hold your silence, if you can refuse to fall into the trap of vengeance, you will watch it unfold with your own eyes. Not with cruelty, not with hatred, but with the quiet satisfaction of knowing the truth. No one escapes themselves. Every harm they gave you, every wound they inflicted, is only a path that leads back to their own door, and when it arrives, you will not need to say a word. Your very presence will remind them, your very strength will shame them, and they will beg, not because you demanded it, but because the universe demanded it. And in that moment, you will understand the true meaning of power. They thought they buried you in the darkness of your pain, but they did not know you were the seed. The final revenge is not their suffering, it is your transcendence. When you rise from the ashes, untouched by their poison, you become something they cannot reach, cannot break, and cannot destroy. To become untouchable is not to escape the world, but to master it. It is the fire that no betrayal can extinguish, the strength that no abandonment can weaken, the calm that no storm can shake. When they look at you, they expect scars, but what they see is a radiance they cannot explain. They expect you to be bitter, broken, chained to the wounds they inflicted. Instead, you carry yourself like one who walked through fire and returned as fire. Your silence becomes louder than their accusations. Your peace becomes sharper than their chaos. Your growth becomes the mirror that reflects their smallness. This is the revenge no enemy can endure, the sight of you flourishing without them. To be untouchable is not to harden your heart, but to refine it. Pain may have touched you, but it did not define you. Their betrayal carved deep lines into your soul, but you turned those lines into maps of wisdom. You are no longer driven by the need to prove them wrong. You are carried by the force of becoming more than they ever imagined. When they reach for you, they find nothing to grasp. When they whisper against you, their words dissolve into emptiness, for you have risen to a height where their noise cannot climb. This power does not come overnight. It is forged in the silence of lonely nights, in the discipline of choosing restraint over reaction, in the courage of letting go rather than clinging. You did not become untouchable by avoiding suffering. You became untouchable by enduring it and refusing to let it turn you into them. Where others collapse under betrayal, you rose. Where others drowned in bitterness, you breathed. Where others broke, you rebuilt. Your presence becomes a haunting reminder to those who hurt you, not because you seek vengeance, but because your very existence exposes the emptiness of their victory. They thought they destroyed you. They thought they left you begging. They thought their cruelty was the end. But now they see that their betrayal was only the beginning of your awakening, and that truth eats them alive. The final revenge is not to win them back. It is not to make them weep at your feet. It is not to demand apologies or explanations. The final revenge is this: you no longer care. Their approval no longer fuels you. Their rejection no longer wounds you. Their presence or absence no longer matters. You stand alone, and in that solitude, you are whole. This is the kind of strength no enemy can fight, no betrayer can undo, no manipulator can control. Untouchable means you are free. Free from their chains, free from their shadows, free from the weight of needing anything from them. You are no longer the person they betrayed. You are the person who rose because of it. And now the balance of power has shifted. They are still entangled in their own darkness, still desperate for recognition, still bound to the illusions that once trapped you. But you walk in light. You carry a stillness that terrifies them, because it shows you have become what they never will be, complete. The greatest revenge is not to destroy them. It is to rise so high that they can no longer touch you. Let them watch. Let them remember. Let them live with the knowledge that their betrayal was the making of your strength. You do not need to curse them, nor bless them. You only need to keep moving, keep rising, keep becoming. That is the silent strike they will never recover from. The realization that you are untouchable, and they will forever remain beneath the shadow of what they tried and failed to break. They thought they broke you. They thought betrayal would bury you in silence and shame. But what they failed to see was that the wound was not your ending. It was the furnace where your new self was forged. You walked through the fire they lit, and you came out unburned, carrying a strength they can never touch. The greatest revenge is not in shouting nor in striking back. It is in rising to such heights that their cruelty becomes irrelevant, their memory powerless, their names forgotten in the shadows.